From an orphan to Rolex's founder. Rolex is the most costly luxury watch brand in the world. It is also at the top of the heap when it comes to pricey mechanical watches. And the models that the Swiss business makes are well known. A Rolex can cost from $6,500 to $75,000, depending on the model. Rolexes often ranks first among investable commodities. Rolex watches could be a wise investment. The value of Rolex watches is known to be steady over time or even increase. But do you know who the brilliant man behind Rolex is? And would you believe that an orphan is the founder of Rolex? Welcome back to Sensational Luxury. In this video, we'll talk about the man who founded Rolex and how he overcame adversity to build and popularize this brand. But before anything else, please subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell icon below so you won't miss the fun. From an orphan to Rolex's founder. Who is this man? It's Hans Wilsdorf. Hans Wilsdorf became an orphan at the age of 12. With nothing to rely on but his tenacity to get through obstacles. He went on to create the first waterproof self-winding wristwatch with a perpetual motor, which has since come to represent the pinnacle of watch quality and distinction. Let's learn more about his early years. Hans Wilsdorf was born in 1881 to an affluent, middle-class family of iron merchants in Germany. Young Hans became an orphan at the age of 12. He was given to an aunt and uncle, who quickly enrolled him in a boarding school in Coburg, Germany. Hans was quite upset about it. But to get by, he focused on his academic studies and developed his English speaking, writing, and reading abilities. He overcame a lot of obstacles by working hard and remaining strong. Later, Hans decided to leave the boarding school and travel to Geneva, Switzerland. He found a job working for a pearl merchant. After that, he worked at Kuno Korten after being employed there for his proficiency in speaking English. This was the beginning of Hans' lifelong love. Hans grew captivated with watch movements and their accuracy. The trade name Rolex was initially registered by Wilsdorf and Davis in 1908, and the brand name Rolex was created. Many people objected to his idea, but he persisted in developing his watch and was adamant about its high level of accuracy. He also persisted in believing that wristwatches would eventually replace pocket watches as the preferred personal timekeeper. He later achieved success and placed the biggest watch order ever received at the time. The beginning of Rolex's rise. Montreux Rolex SA was founded in 1919 by Hans Wilsdorf, who also served as the sole owner of the Rolex Geneva office. The Bienne factory functioned as the primary location for the production of watch movements, while Rolex watch designs and marketing were handled out of the Geneva office. The corporate headquarters of Rolex was then relocated from England to Switzerland. The year 1926 turned out to be very busy for Hans Wilsdorf and Rolex. He acquired the intellectual rights to Paul Perregaux and Georges Perret's winding crown mechanism in July. This system is screwed into the casing to form a watertight seal. He registered the name Oyster in the same month. He submitted a patent application for a waterproof watch case using the Perregaux-Perret method in October of that same year, along with numerous additional enhancements and adjustments. The first waterproof and dustproof wristwatch in history was created in 1926 and is today known as the Rolex Oyster casing. The following year he gave Mercedes Gleitz a Rolex Oyster watch to wear in her attempt to swim the English Channel. The Rolex Oyster watch came out unharmed after spending more than 10 hours submerged in frigid water. Then, the master marketer secured the front page of the Daily Mail to announce the greatest triumph in watchmaking accomplished by Rolex, and she and her Rolex Oyster made international headlines. The development of the first self-winding watch mechanism in the world with a perpetual rotor in 1931 marked the next significant turning point in Rolex's history. Hans Wilsdorf celebrated the 40th anniversary of his business in 1945 by introducing a brand new Rolex design called the Datejust. The Rolex Datejust was the first wrist chronometer in history to show the date through a dial window rather than a traditional pointer hand. The Jubilee bracelet, a new addition, was also displayed. The Jubilee bracelet continues to be a staple in the Rolex collection, while the Datejust went on to become one of the brand's most famous watch designs. Rolex's product line quickly expanded in the 1950s with a flurry of new models created to meet a variety of purposes. After the death of his beloved wife Florence in 1944, he created the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. and donated his whole share of the Rolex company to it the next year. The Hans Wilsdorf Foundation still owns and controls Rolex, and it secretly contributes a sizable amount of its earnings to numerous philanthropic organizations. After a second marriage to Bertha, Betty, Mettler, Hans Wilsdorf is said to have been inspired to create the Cyclops magnifying lens because she had problems seeing the little date window on the dial. After being included in the Datejust in 1953, the Cyclops has subsequently evolved into a crucial part of practically all Rolex watches with date windows. And after Hans Wilsdorf went away in 1960, his legacy continued through the humanitarian activities of the foundation that bears his name in the renowned and prized Rolex watches. Rolex has retained its status as a pioneer in the watch business with its cutting-edge and classic designs. And up until this point, Mr. Hans Wilsdorf's legacy has endured and succeeded. That sums up our video of the man behind the luxury watch brand Rolex. What Rolex watches do you have or do you want to have? Let us know in the comments section. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.